and in other countries in Europe, that they will definitely find a solution to get the euro crisis under control. There's one big problem. The debts of Greece, which needs help from countries like France and Germany, are much bigger than they were expected. We have new reports so that we see that the Greece economy is doing very badly, much worse than we expected. So they need more money. And now the leaders are discussing how to get the money from the banks and also the taxpayers. One thing is clear, the banks must pay more. They should contribute more to the solution, but this means that some European banks are going to get into trouble. So the leaders have to find solutions how to stabilize the banks. We are afraid here in Europe of a second Lehman catastrophe like 2008 in the United States, as at that time the investment bank Lehman Brothers failed and get bankrupt, and then we get the big financial and economic crisis. And this is what we are going to avoid. But the problem of Greece is just as big as the problem of the banks were in the years 2008 and so on. Okay. We see some demonstrations here in Europe, also in Germany, and the movement originated in the United States. It was a protest against the dominant role of Wall Street, of the stock exchange, of the financial markets, which seem to control the politics. And this movement has come to Europe, and it's strong in Germany, but it's even stronger in Spain or other countries which are going through very rough times. In Germany, the economy is still doing quite well. We have some problems, but not as big as in other countries. So the movement is here in Germany not as big as in other European countries, but it's yet as so big that the government needs to take it seriously. And Mrs. Merkel, our chancellor, said she is taking the movement seriously. There's a feeling that the financial markets, the banks, are controlling our politics, that the normal taxpayer who doesn't earn so much money has to give money for the banks, for the rich banks who are speculating, who are earning millions and trillions of euros or dollars. And then if they go bankrupt because they made the wrong speculations, then the normal taxpayer, the normal family man, has to give money for those banks. And this is seemed to be not fair. And the population is very angry now about the banks and the politics as well. And this is why Mrs. Merkel also said she wants more contribution from the banks. We have to solve now the euro crisis, and it's going to be very expensive. But the taxpayers, the normal people, should not be the only one who pay for the crisis. The banks should pay as well, because there are some. They're also responsible for this crisis we are now in. Not only governments, but also the banks. And this is why the banks should pay. And this is what those demonstrators say. And they are very warmly welcomed here by the German government and the German parties. The people here on the streets in Germany, they are asking for a bigger contribution of the banks and the financial markets to the solution of the oil crisis, which is going to be very costly, and they want the banks and the financial markets to pay for it. And they also want more regulations. We had a long time here in Europe, but also in the United States and in other parts of the world, which saw a lot of deregulations for the financial markets. It was considered to be good for the economy if you make the financial markets freer and freer, if you let them just work as they want to. And now we see that we are getting big problems as a consequence of these deregulations. And now the people ask or demand the government to make more rules for the financial markets, so that a crisis which we are facing now is not yet to happen again in the near future. If you see the protests in other parts of Europe, I think there have additional dimensions. If you see, for example, the big demonstrations in Spain, and especially in Greece, then those are demonstrations against social cuts in the social security, because the people in those deficit countries have to suffer a lot. They have to pay more taxes, the social contributions are going down, the government is not paying as much for the schools, for all kinds of services which have to be provided by the government. And in all those countries, the government have to save money because they have to turn down their deficits. And this is very, very hard for the population. In Germany, the situation is different. We don't have such a big deficit, so we don't have to cut those deficits so bigly. So we have not so big social problems now in Germany as we have, for example, in Spain, in Greece, or in other parts of Europe. So the movement is different across different European countries, but there's one common goal, and this is the big criticism of the dominant role of the banks and the financial system in many Western countries, and the governments are now under pressure to go back and to control the banks better and to control the financial markets, which made big problems here for the whole world economy.